Darlings, just like this present right here, this podcast is just about wrapped. You've tuned in to New Job. Who dis? Happy holidays, happy Halston days, happy holidays. Welcome, 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 welcome. Everyone, one and all, gather around the tree. I have stories to tell. You've tuned in to episode 43 of New Job Who Dis. I am your delicious, delightful, effervescent, and gorgeous host, Halston Boddy. Halston Boddy. And why are we almost wrapped? Because we are, darlings. One more episode after this to wrap it all in a nice, neat bow and put it under the tree on Christmas Day for you. Oh, I cannot thank you enough for sticking it out. We have been here 22 plus weeks, stretching it out with a few breaks in between, but we have been here through months of the stay-at-home quarantine, watch out, COVID's coming for you down the Christmas tree. Whew, we have breathed through this together in 2020, and I am so glad you have been with me through this journey. For those who have been with me, my 13 lovely, gorgeous, sexy listeners out there, thank you for coming back. Thank you for sticking it out. Thank you for being here this entire way. For anybody who is just walking in the door, you have 22 weeks, 42 episodes of hour-long plus or minus programming for you to binge over the holiday weekend, the holiday week, the 2 weeks that you might be off at the end of the year. However you may slice it, you have a lot to catch up on because this is a linear podcast and we are down to the wire. The whole point of this podcast is to take you through a journey of my entire job history to give perspective, give hope, give love, give some sort of insight as to how I became Halston Boddy. How did I turn into the pro wrestling manager of the stars? How did we get here at this ripe old age of 67? Listen, I'm not... Listen, we had a lot to talk about. Now, and I have to preface this with, I skipped 2 jobs. Not on purpose, not because, I didn't want to talk about those jobs, because they didn't really fit a perfect linear structure that I could just kind of like go, here's what happened at this time. And I talked a little bit about them, but I didn't straight up like give straight, clear, here are all the dirt and stories of my time as an extra on Hollywood sets and a production assistant on varied independent and or major Hollywood sets. I didn't give any sort of story to those because it wasn't like a job where I got hired and then I was working it for like 2 years straight and then I got fired or something. It was sort of like, I got a day job here. I got a day job there. I got a temporary, booking there, here and there. So I kind of glazed over those as here's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the life as a production assistant. It was sort of a catch as catch can life. And same with the acting thing. I've acted here and there and everywhere. So it wasn't like, here's my acting job. But I did talk a little bit about the background work that I've done and things like that. So my apologies if there is not oh man, you missed out that whole part. You didn't miss anything. But we're here to talk. We're right around the corner, right at the end. We have left you with 2.5 thorough conversations about my time at the subscription box company called Loot Crate. I was there for 6 years and change. When I left, I was employee number 6 or 7. I think I was 6. I had that much seniority. I started at month 6 and just stuck it out. And the people that I thought were going to be there forever left, gone, never to be heard from again. And I stuck it out through the best and through the worst of times. I've prefaced this. I'll preface it again. I will make sure to disclaim any conversation I have about Loot Crate because I signed an NDA or signed a non-disparaging thing. I don't really, I got to say this again. I don't really have anything bad to say about the company itself. Mistakes were made. Things happened, but it's all well documented online. So it's not like I'm going to spill some tea that everyone needs to know about, especially on this podcast. But I have said this before. If somebody wants to dial up a check for at least 7 figures and wants to cover any sort of, payment that I might ever have to make for Loot Crate for spilling the tea, the real tea, I have names, I have places, I have things that went on behind closed doors that I cannot spill publicly. But boy, if you want to cover my lawsuit for disparaging the place I used to work for, by all means, step up, lawyers. I know you got the funds. But yeah, we're not here to crap on the job. We're not here to talk about how bad the job was or how whatever. I had my ups and downs as well. So it wasn't like I was a perfect employee. I did the best though. I did the best I could. I fought the good fight. I was there to be a trooper. I was a yes man. I wanted to make sure it worked, and it didn't. It just didn't. And so now we round that corner. I was working there, and when things were good, I was a happy clam. I'm a happy clam? Sure, I'm a happy clam. I'm happy as a clam. But when it was bad, it was really bad. And it was really bad to the point where I picked up a nice whiskey drinking habit that seemingly just got allowed by myself at any given moment, allowed by my workplace that didn't know I was drinking, or if they did, they were in on it. How fun of a workplace is that? Hey, you wake up, you get to your job at 9 a.m., 8:30 a.m., and you're sitting there at work, and before noon, your boss comes in and say, hey, what are we drinking today? And you whip out a bottle of whatever booze of the day or whatever, your whiskey bottle from underneath your desk. And you're like, oh, you can pop a whiskey. What do you want? Whiskey on the rocks? Do you need some soda? We got free soda in the break room. So it didn't suck having a boss who didn't care and joined you in the festivities of drinking through the day, because good God, to go through what we had to go through and the pain of working under whatever duress we had, whether it be financial or staff-wise or whatever, it made the day go smooth, but that was a problem. And it didn't become a problem. It just got to the point where whiskey became like water. Hey, good morning. Don't wake up with your coffee. Have some brandy in that coffee. And I wasn't getting drunk. That was the fun part. I was just like carrying a nice happy buzz throughout the day, because boy, the things we had to endure and the people that we had to endure while working there, I'm kind of grateful that I got to drink a little bit and maybe smoke a little bit of devil's lettuce to get you through the day. Listen, I'm going to open up about that. Oh yeah, no, I was toking and drinking because boy, the pain of working there at a certain point was just, nothing else mattered. It really didn't. But here's where the light came through. Here's where we turned into Halston Boddy. Here's where the light at the end of the tunnel, the breakthrough moment that changed my entire life. And not only changed my life, but it also turned me, the 14-year-old wrestling fan in me and the 17-year-old wannabe wrestling student who was graduating high school in the dark age of 1990. Dark age. And I'm just beating myself for no reason. Back in 1990, that's what I wanted to be. My parents, I was like, listen, I found a pro wrestling school here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I want to be a pro wrestler. I love wrestling. I want to be it. I want to do it. I love it. I want to be part of it. My parents were like, who are normally in the vein of do what you want as long as it makes you happy, kid. We're like, you are not running off to the circus because your older brother did not go to college and succeed and be the Huntsy boy and the A game player of our family. So we're counting on you, kid. You better go to college. Make us proud. And I did. I didn't make him proud going to college. I just went to college and I didn't do anything about it because in the back of my head, I wanted to be a pro wrestler. I was all through high school. I was known as the weirdo who liked pro wrestling. But I was that kid. I was that weirdo because I wanted it. And I didn't care what anybody thought. I just like, listen, everybody else wants to be a veterinarian or a social worker or go to college or be a real estate broker. That sounds boring to me. I want to be a pro wrestler. Never happened. But here we are, 30 years later. And at the time, 27 years later, I was the ripe age of 44, or actually 43 going on 44. And I got to tell you, it was this weird happenstance moment. I was working with a lovely person by the name of Sarah, who is still in wrestling. And she's still doing it, and I love her so, and I haven't talked to her in forever. So Sarah, if you're listening, if you're out there, I miss you, darling. But I give her credit because here's what she did. She walked into work one day, and I'm catching you up on what I talked about last time. She walked into work one day, and I passed her in the hallway or caught her in the break room, and she was like, again, she looked like she had been hit by a truck, moaning as she was walking, looking like she was having severe back pains or knee pains or pains in general. And I said, hey, are you okay? Like, are you a girl? You're all right? What's wrong with you? And she's like, I'm fine. It's just pro wrestling. I'm in wrestling school. I was like, oh, well, that's okay. Sorry to hear that. Wait, what? Hold on. You're going to wrestling school? Tell me more. And she did. And she told me about Santino Brothers Wrestling Academy in Bell Gardens. Well, funny enough, our warehouse at Loot Crate was also in Bell Gardens at the time. What? I know of this Bell Gardens. Tell me more about the Gardens of the Bell. Miss Sarah, I want to know these things. What is this wrestling school you speak of? And I'm 44, but I don't know if I can do that, but I don't know. I want to know more though. I'm intrigued. I like the wrestling. I enjoy the wrestle. Tell me more. And she did. And then it wasn't immediate. I didn't go, oh, great, I'm doing it immediately. Sign me up. Here's my money. Take my money immediately. It was a little bit of coaxing. It was a little bit of, I need more information. I need to detective this. I need to, what do you mean? The wrestling school? Well, how much is it? And how long do you do it? And who's there? And I started getting curious. The curious boy in me woke up and was like, I need to know more. And then she was like, well, you got to come to a show. Well, great. Now, up to that point, I had only been to like WWE shows. And before that, WWF shows. But WWE live entertainment. Went to, house shows, pay-per-views, whatever. And I didn't go very often in Southern California back in the day in Milwaukee. Went to all of them. But in SoCal, I really didn't go unless it was like, hey, free ticket, or hey, I wasn't really like, oh, I need to go see this. Even when like WrestleMania was north of us in San Francisco, I wasn't like, we got to go to WrestleMania. Didn't even play into my playbook. I was still a wrestling fan, but I had kind of just backed off. I wasn't like heavy into it, but I got back into it. I went to a show at the AWS Promotions, which was in, I want to say Southgate, California, because I had heard of and been familiar with a wrestler by the name of the Blue Meanie. I was a huge fan. This guy was a big chunky boy, big thick boy from Pennsylvania, and I was like, hey, another inspiration for us thick boys, us big boys with bellies and butts. Instead of being all muscles, all Venice Beach, all tan all the time, give it to us Hulk Hogan, give it to us Sting, give it to us Macho with those abs. And even today, it's all body, yada, yada, right? So, my chunky, thick butt was like, but he inspired me. A lot of people inspired me. A lot of the big boys inspired me. Bam Bam Bigelow, anybody who was a big boy. Akeem, right? Akeem, one-man gang. George Gray, as we all know him. Shoot name. But I was like, oh man, let's go to a local wrestling show. And I went to AWS and it was super fun. It was super local and it was super great. And I remember the names that really impressed me. I was like, wow, these guys are great. But Sarah invited me to a Santino Brothers show. And I believe it was like Night of the Death Match. And it was a Halloween show or around Halloween. And she was like, well, come see it first. Come to a local wrestling show. Get a taste, right? Me and my husband bought some tickets. Hey, let's go see this show. And I got to tell you, I was blown away. The production of the show, the value of the wrestling that was happening, the who was on the card and where they were, the drama, the story, where it all, I didn't know any of these people, by the way. I just want to let you know, everybody that I watched that night, other than Sarah, I'd never met, I had never heard of, I had no idea who these folks were. These are all indie wrestlers in the SoCal scene. Some older than others, some hot, young, fresh rookies. And I was all in. I was like, sold. Whatever this product that you're selling of Santino Brothers, I'm sold. I'm in. I love it. It was a great show. It was a lot of fun people. And I was like, listen, I don't know what this is, but I need to be part of this. And while I was working at Loot Crate, as it was almost like the cross, the crossing of the streams. I was enjoying and loving my time at Loot Crate and Loot Crate. I love it. It's so great. Oh my gosh, beating my chest. Yeah, this is the career. This is the future of my life. I'm going to be working for Loot Crate. They've treated me so well. I've had some great experiences. My career, my customer service levels and my managerial levels are off the charts. Things are going great. I'm leading teams, I'm doing training, I'm learning all these great skills, I'm taking on new adventures, I'm becoming a procurement manager, all these things. And so she says, hey, although you may not, I don't know if you want to get into the wrestling right away, but I will tell you this, Santino Brothers is planning to have a class or a schooling, a course, in everything but the wrestling. What? Managers, commentators, camera, ring crew, ringside promo people, ring announcers, all of it, audio, the whole, everything else but the wrestling itself. Now, obviously, they're not going to be like, we're not going to teach you any wrestling whatsoever, but at the same time, that wasn't the focus. Your focus was to be the production and the parts around the wrestlers to make the wrestlers look amazing. Great. Sign me up. I'm in. Are you kidding me? Why? Why would I not want to do this? Now, this is 2 years. This is now going on 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, October. Before that, so if we go back 3 years, and I've been unemployed with Loot Crate for a year and a half, this was about we're diving into about 2 years before I leave Loot Crate, when I start getting this story going. Then about a year and a half before I leave Loot Crate, by going to this school. So I asked my husband, I talked to my parents. This is so funny. My parents are now 73 and 74 years old. They still live in northern Wisconsin. And my mother, my dad doesn't care. My dad's like, whatever, kid, go do it. I talked to my mom, and my mom is like, you better not. I don't want to hear about you getting beat up and and being the overly protective mother that she still is when I'm 44 years old for some reason. And at that time, she was 70. So I was like, Mom, listen. She once told me, I used the wise words of my mother back at her. I said, Mom, I believe I heard a certain female influence in my life, otherwise known as my mother, tell me these things when I wanted to get a mohawk at the ripe age of 15. She was like, I own your head until you're 18. After that, you can do whatever you want. And I said, I believe I have the pinks on this vehicle now. I can do whatever I want. You cannot. And she laughed, of course. But there's still a slight layer, a 10% layer, maybe even 20% layer of her who's like, don't you get into this wrestling. But I don't want you hit with chairs and die. And I'm like, it's so funny. But I took a chance. I was seeing my layers of unhappiness unfurl at Loot Crate for where I was and what was going on within the company. And my instincts, again, sharp as knives, sharper than knives at some point. Maybe I saw the writing on the wall, right? I didn't know how long this was going to last. I didn't know if it was going to go under. I didn't know what was going to happen with Loot Crate. All I know was there were issues and there were problems. And the promised land of working for Loot Crate forever and ever, amen, was not necessarily a solid, like, oh, I see the path. I see where it's going. I see this is absolutely going to be a retirement gig. I'm all the way. The trouble, like a bridge over troubled water. It was, I saw it coming. So maybe there was a part of me that instinctually said, hey, maybe you just need to get on the horse. Give it a shot, kid. You didn't do it when you were 17. Bring it. See what happens. The worst you can do is fail, right? The worst they're going to say is no. You're too old. You're too fat. You're too this. You're too that. You're too gay. You're not gay enough. I don't know. We don't like beards. There's too many dudes in beards. And realistically, I had no expectation. I didn't go into this going, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to be the WWE champion, and look out, world. Come on, Roman Reigns. I'm here for it. I had no idea. All I knew was I wasn't a 17-year-old with muscles and workout regiments, schedules. I wasn't pro athlete. Now, around that time, during my recovery and during the time that I was kind of getting back on my feet, I trained and I actually participated in a Star Wars Disney 10K because I was trying to get in shape. I was a mean, thick 270, and somehow I ran a 10K at the crack of dawn through Disneyland and California Adventure to do it. So I had cardio. I had some level of athleticism. Again, not competing with the 22-year-olds who have abs and tans. In the same vein of Mr. The Rock, but before him, Ron Simmons, I knew my role right away because I saw a lot of young cats. And I was like, yeah, I'm not here to steal their spot. I'm not here to look out, young kids. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to make wrestling look sloppy and old. What? No. That's why I went for this manager course and this production course of wrestling, because it just seemed like if I'm going to get in, I'm going to get in. Get in where you fit in. And that's what they teach you in wrestling. Get in where you fit in. And so I took the shot. I took the chance. I was making plenty of money. I could afford the school. I could afford whatever equipment. I could help. I could financially get my way through this. I had a car. I could get around. All the pieces were lined up. And I did it. I took the class. I started the class, and I will tell you this. I'm not going to give away the class. I'm not going to tell you what the lessons of this is what you learned and this is what you did. That's not the point of this podcast. What happened was an essential payoff. An essential? Did I just say essential? An essential payoff of the 30 years of crappy jobs, of lessons learned, of bad management, of good management, of corporate infrastructure, of corporate culture, of startup culture, of utility culture, of being a manager, being an employee. All of the 30 years of being, since I was a 14-year-old paperboy, the lessons and the things that I took with me along the journey that you have listened to for 20 plus weeks all came into play the minute I sat down under the learning tree of the instructors of Santino Brothers for Pro Wrestling School. Whether it be refereeing, whether it be commentary, ring announcer, all of those things, everything, being a manager, being a character manager, being somebody who has to put themselves together and create, holding a camera, knowing what lighting should look like, knowing what headroom is on a camera when you're shooting somebody, angles, photography, all of these things, whether it be practical usage, technique, broadcasting school, lessons and or training that I've had, radio training, being in broadcasting, auditioning and getting on 2 reality shows, and overall 4 game shows and 2 reality shows, going through auditions, the Hollywood ringer of auditioning, acting, doing acting on, basic level and more advanced levels, costuming, doing makeup, doing refereeing and being part of the show, all of these things. And of course, hard work, heavy lifting, being the first one there and the last one to leave, having a work ethic. Boy, when I sat under that learning tree for 6 to 8 months, because it started in October and we really didn't graduate, so to speak. I mean, I don't consider myself graduated and that's it. I just have my degree and I'm gone. You're always learning. Another lesson, always be learning. Don't cement and think this is how it is and I've learned it once. That's it. I don't have to learn it again or learn it a different way or hear somebody else's perspective on it. Nope. And I got to tell you, folks, if there's one secret I can give away, all of the things that I've learned and all the things that I went through, the ups, the downs, the pains, the worries, the therapy, the I hate this job, take this job and shove it, all of the things that we've talked about, everything came into play. I came with a bag of holding that had all of the lessons that I needed to learn already predetermined into my head. I was like, oh yeah, there was a lot of times I was listening to the instructors and I just found myself either physically nodding, like, yep, or internally nodding, going, yeah, they are absolutely correct about that. Always be learning, always be available, be helpful, be aware, like read the room, all these things, stand-up comedy, read the room. Like there's so many things that pro wrestling lessons and the discipline and the psychology and the work ethic that is involved in being in the pro wrestling universe. I was not a fresh-faced 19-year-old who had no idea how to even wipe myself. I had the knowledge and I just needed confirmation and I just needed permission. And so while we're learning, the instructors are like, yeah, come up with what you want to kind of do. We're going to teach you and everything. But of course, we'd love to have you guys gravitate to where you think you're going to want to be or where you want to go with it. And of course, yours truly wanted to perform. Again, didn't want to necessarily wrestle just yet, but because I haven't put my toe in that water and I was a little nervous, like, are my bones going to break? Am I going to have a back problem immediately? Am I going to break my neck? I don't know, but you know what? If I don't try, I can't go to sleep at the end of my life and go, I did it. I would be like, oh, I wish I would have. And that's realistically one of the other big motivators. I did not want to go through my entire life in my ripe old age of when I'm, in the nursing home and, maybe being interviewed someday or somebody's asking me, oh, Grandpa, what did you regret? Do you have any regrets? I did not want to go to the end and go, yeah, I really wish I'd have pursued that pro wrestling. Man, 17-year-old me, but it would have been real mad. 14-year-old fanboy wrestling of, I would have been like, oh, why didn't you, you quitter? You didn't do it. So I when it came down to it, all the things we were learning, and again, mad respect and mad love for all of the people that trained me. And it wasn't just the instructors, it was other people. other people in the class even that didn't do the right things because they were either too bold, or I shouldn't say either too bold. They were like, I know better and I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to not listen. That was another thing. Always be listening. You always want to be learning, but you always want to be listening. Listen. Less talk, more listen. Speak when you're ready, but not just to, this is what we should do. No, you don't know. So I treated myself as the 17-year-old walking into pro wrestling school for the first time because I needed to respect what was in front of me. I needed to respect what the opportunity was for me to get into. I had to listen and make sure I was following the leaders. Because all the people that 3 years ago and change were training me are all still out there in wrestling, being very successful at it. In their own ways, in their own wherever they are. There are some people who are up in the big leagues. There are some people who are still in the independent scene. There are some people still teaching from Zoom meetings. There are some people who, just give me lessons or little tidbits here and there when I catch them at a show or wherever they may roam. So all of this just felt so right. When I got into wrestling school and I listened every week, twice a week, to the lessons and to the how we should not just perform, it's not even just performing. It was like the discipline and the responsibility. Those are the big things. There are some cats in this class that I'm like, how did they even get in the door? Because they were the most irresponsible and non-listening and not reading the room and making sure they cross their T's and dot their I's when it came to personal responsibility and pushing themselves past what they think they're capable of. They gave up. They quit. Yours truly, who is by far, I think there was one guy in the class. There was 15 people in this class when I first started. One guy was maybe a year older than me, but everybody else was younger than me. And half that class quit. Piece by piece. They either gave up, life got in the way, they gave up, they just didn't like what was going on. Whatever excuse or reason or whatever happened, I don't even know some of the reasons why some people did it. Others are still in the business with me. Other people are still in the, they're out there. Alyssa Marino and Adnan Qureshi and other people that are just like, they're out there still putting it out wherever they can and still trying to be part of the business. But man, I stuck it out because I felt, listen, if I don't see this all the way through, I'm just doing it like it's some sort of I didn't want to treat it like it was some sort of, like you see those what are those rock weekends? I can't remember what they're like. They're like, spend a weekend or spend a week with real rock stars who will teach you. And then it's like School of Rock, basically. You pay a big amount of money, you go to a resort or someplace and you learn with the actual rock stars that you grew up at loving and listening to. Glenn Hughes of Deep Purple will teach you how to sing. And, so-and-so on guitar will teach you how to create hot licks. And at the end of it, you're going to have a big performance and everyone gets a big showcase for all these students who get to learn how to play tambourine with John Anderson of Yes. I mean, I didn't want to treat it like that. I thought, no, this is what I want to do. And this is what I wanted to do. And the more I did it, the more I was like, yes, this is where I needed to be. This is where my joy was happening. To this day, there's so many people that get burned out. They get so angry or something goes wrong for them. And I got to say, I will say this again. The 17-year-old me may have been like those people. The 17-year-old me may have been bratty or know-it-all or frustrated and in my head that I didn't want to do it anymore. I know better. This sucks. This hurts too much. I don't want to do it anymore. I'm lazy. all of that went away. I was like, listen, I'm here to do it, and I'm going to do it well, and I'm going to show everybody I can do it. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to show you. It's going to happen, folks. And week by week, it did. Halston Boddy was not born in a day. It took months, and it's still developing. I just want to let you know, too, this is not a final form. Yes, it is absolutely, where I want to be right now and where I'm at right now. It's great. Fits like a glove, feels great. I'm loving it. But back then, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I had to ask permission. And you say, what do you mean? You had to ask permission? I wanted to make sure I was respectful and not just, I've got a million ideas. I'm going to vomit them on you, instructors, and tell you exactly what, this is how it's going to be, and I'm going to do it. And draw the ire of these, men and women who want to train the upstarts. And I mean, hard to call a 44-year-old an upstart, but at the time, I was like fresh-faced and ready to be eager. And I want to learn this business. Tell me more. But the more and more, I will tell you this, the more and more I learned, the more lessons I was taught, the more lectures and or things I listened to from those who I still respect in this business, all were like just confirmations of the 30 plus years of being in the job industry provided me. Entertainment and corporate wise, it all added up and it all played together. And when I say I talk about how I had to ask permission, I had an idea. And that idea was I wanted to be a pro wrestling manager because I felt after doing stand-up comedy, entertaining, having a voice, having a vision, being artistic, being creative, knowing how to dress and costume and get a vision board together, and all those things that I have lived a long life cultivating and learning from and failing at and chasing big dreams and having them fall apart, almost killing me. You know what I mean? Like, what's the worst that could happen? Well, so far, I will tell you, it's been a magical ride. It's been the best 3+ years that I've ever lived because I'm free. I'm free mentally of feeling like I need to be a 9-to-5 corporate shill. Now, I will not lie. I currently still have a day job because I'm not an idiot. I got to survive. But I hate it because I want to be doing this full time. Whether it's entertain you on this video, do more podcasts, whatever layer or levels of being involved in the pro wrestling business, wherever I may roam, this is absolutely my home. I needed permission to become Halston Boddy, and this is how that worked. I had an idea for a wrestling manager. I wanted to be somewhat of fashion. I wanted to look good. I wanted to be fancy or weird or whatever. And so when it came time to come up with personality aspects and layers to your character, I went back into the psychological well and I thought, what's a thing I love to do? Well, I love Halloween costuming. I've made my own Halloween costumes plenty over the years. Big ones and small ones. I'm creative. I have an artistic eye. I have a fashion eye in a way of like what works together, what looks good, what do I like? Where does my eye roam to when I see other people in costume, whether it's wrestlers or rock stars or whatever? School of Kiss. At the end of the day, I had a skill set. And then I also thought, well, how do I do this? How do I become Halston Boddy? Well, I had to come up with a name. And I won't give that secret how I came up with the name. It's not necessarily a secret. I think I talked about it once before on a podcast. But at the end of the day, I had to create. And I thought of things to create this name. And then I told my instructor, I was like, I've got this idea. I've got this loose framed idea of who this manager, character, person is going to be. And I spilled it. I was like, he's got to be fashion, but he's not trying to steal the show with his fashion. He's just wearing it. He just wants to be it. It's not about, look what I'm wearing. I didn't need to beg for approval from the audience. I didn't need to put on a show and hope everybody liked it and point at it going, look, look, look. This is what I'm wearing. Look what I'm wearing. I just wanted to wear it. And let the audience decide. Let the audience squirm. Let the audience enjoy it for what it is rather than making it a stance or a point. I just wanted to be it. We've heard that before. Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? Don't dream it, be it. So I just wanted to be it. And I at the time, I wasn't anywhere prepared for it. I wasn't like, oh, I'm ready. Here we go. I got the outfit. I didn't have any of this. I didn't even have makeup. I did nothing. And he looks at me after I spill my guts a little bit about like, hey, well, I want to be this guy, and I think he's this, and this is his name, and here's his name, and I this is how I kind of see him, and this is what I want him to be like so far. And he steps back, and he looks at me, and he goes, well, where is it? Oh, I was so seen. But he goes, but at the end of the day, that was the permission slip I needed. That was the 300 This Is Sparta kick I needed to jump into the pit and go, oh, you're giving me permission to just show up and be it? Well, look out. Next weekend, or the next week, I showed up in hot silver fish scale leggings. I had some... I still wore like fluorescent orange tennis shoes because I was like, oh, I don't really have like fancy shoes yet. But I kind of coordinated the outfit. I had like orange wristbands and I had an orange tie. I had this like cheetah top that was like a button down. And I had these frameless orange glasses. Step one, that's what it was. It was stage one. Well, this is the first thing on the board. Let's try it. So it was just like a vision board. Just throw it on the wall, see if it sticks. That was the start of it. That's where it all started. I just gave myself permission, and I had to ask somebody for permission, even though I didn't need it. The psychological part of Halston Boddy is I kind of needed it. I needed somebody to kick me off that ledge and go for it, kid. Throw you in the deep end. Go. And here we are. 3 years later and change, and I'm still doing it. I'm still here. I'm planning to be here to the end, because here's the big reveal that I'll probably reveal again on Christmas in the final episode, the epilogue of where do we go from here? Where is it happening? After being alive for 47 plus years, going through job after job, career choice after career choice, short jobs, kind of long jobs, I guess 6.5 years is the longest one I really had. I'm not retiring, folks. I know that sounds weird. What do you mean you're not retiring? Sorry. I don't plan to follow that weird old school, you got to retire at 65 and then, do nothing for the next 20 years while you waste away in Margaritaville. No. Take on new hobbies like shopping and spending all your money because you're not working 9 to 5. Retire and be bored and then feel like you have to go back to work again because you're bored and you don't know what to do with yourself. Sorry, kids. I hate to disappoint you all. I'm sorry for the people on Wall Street who do not get to play with a 401k in my name. I'm sorry to all the non-pensions that I own. I'm sorry for all of the standards that I'm going to break for myself and maybe for others to make them squirm because they don't understand how you can live that life. But sorry, kids, I ain't doing the weird corporate life where you're cemented into something and then you're not sure if it's ever going to pay off. Because, sorry, my dad had a 401k once, and it was well worth over $1 million until 2008 came around, and he got wiped. So, all those 401k dreams that everyone beats their chest about when I walk into a corporate culture, I got news for y'all. I'm not subscribing to it. Oh, that's so not smart. Listen, I got this far, and I'm alive today by being scrappy, by having a hustle game, by making sure I stay afloat, by taking care of business when I need to take care of business. And furthermore, and future me also had to learn how, or I should say, in my travels, I had to learn to ask for help, and I had to learn to ask to reach out in case things were bad, because I almost let them get so bad that it was unfixable. I had to ask for help. So I see a lot of people in this world that I am in awe of, who are not stuck working for the man or some corporation that really, at the end of the day, does not care about you. I've been through that too many times. I'm going through it currently right now with a job I'm currently working. And it's laughable because it's watching people dive in and feel like this is their family. Oh, you guys are the most amazing people ever. You're my family and I truly love you all. I've never even met you. Who are you? Like, I don't buy it. Listen, I'm not saying you can't be friends. I'm not saying you can't be family with people you work with. I'm not saying any of that, but I have been through 30 years of corporate culture, and I can count on two hands, maybe less. I would say two hands, the amount of people in 30 years that I've kept with me, that I used to work with, that I'm like, you're still awesome, or I love you even though in spite of this job. Few and far between. So that's where we're headed. And I'm sorry, Halston Boddy is here, and I'm going to stay Halston Boddy, and who knows where it's going to take me? Who knows what avenue may open up, or what makeup sponsorship I'll get, or what broadcasting, maybe I'll go back into radio. Maybe I'll do, a wrestling show that's like a showcase, like CW30 Wrestling does out of Memphis. There's so many possibilities out there. And if the last 30 years haven't taught me, or maybe the listener here at home has taught anybody, anything is frickin' possible, folks. Anything. If you would have said, when I was 25, hey, when you're 44, you're going to go into wrestling school and try to become a pro wrestling manager. And guess what? It might actually work. And you might actually have some skills that might take you there. I'd laugh at you. What? What are you smoking? If you have some, share it, brother. I'm telling you, I was like, what? Here we are, 2020, pandemic, COVID-19, all these things. The world is falling apart. Sky is falling. And 2020 has been one of the most successful years for me. Now, mind you, it's my third year. I'm a rookie. I'm a baby. I still got a long way to go. I'm a greenhorn. But the life lessons that surround me after 30 plus years, I'm not as green as anyone thinks I am. Yes, I still have a lot to learn in the wrestling business. Yes, I'm sure there will be some downs. Man, there have been some downs already, but they haven't been big ones. They haven't been ones that have sent me into some spiral or anything. But guess what, darlings? I've had that happen already. So I'm not going to repeat history. I'm not going to let it define or crumble me. I am here to do what I want to do, and I've wanted to do in workplaces for years. And that is not only help try to make the place I'm at better, and help others around me to make them better, and to make the what we're doing better and more fun and easier, and whatever I can do to improve and or add to this crazy world of pro wrestling, this universe, this Marvel universe of pro wrestling that I'm in, then I'm here for that. I'm absolutely 1,000% here to not take, but to give. I'll get what I get, right? I'll get what I get when I get it, and I'm gonna fight for what I want, and I'm not gonna, let my ego dictate that, and I'm not gonna, step on other people's shoes and toes and dresses and whip their, snatch wigs and try to turn this into some fight. I'm just here to be the best version of me. I'm here to be the best version of Halston Boddy that I can possibly be, and grow and learn. Even at 47, you can teach a middle-aged dog some tricks and some new ones, and I'm still learning, and I love it. So thank you. Thank you all for listening. Friday, On Christmas Day, oh, Christmas Day, oh, Christmas Day, we will absolutely wrap up the epilogue episode. This will be the Q&A, the last minute. This is what we've learned. This is where we're going, and this is what I want you to do. Before I go, I need you to all set your VCRs. I need you to all tune into YouTube and subscribe and or set a reminder. You need to watch CW30 Wrestling out of Memphis. It is tied to the United Wrestling Network. It is part of the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood show that I am currently on, managing Heather Monroe, the Killer Bay. I need you to watch and be in tune on Saturday. Tune in on Saturday. There's the words. Use your words, Halston. Tune in on Saturday because it will be the perfect wrap-up of where we are and where we're going in pro wrestling. And that's how we got here. And this is the long road that we've taken to get there. So please do that for me. If you've walk away from this podcast with one thing, please do that. Because there is a huge period, exclamation mark, and more that is going to happen on Saturday that I am beyond thrilled about. If you already know, you know. If you are listening for the first time, or I'm sorry, even if you're listening for the first time, but if you're one of my 13 listeners and you're not sure or unaware, by all means, please tune in on Saturday. If you're local in Los Angeles or the southern southwest area, go to UnitedWrestlingNetwork.com. Check your local listings because it is on, I believe, over 120 stations in the south and west, and it is everywhere. And there's all places all over the United States. It's scattered. Look for it on your local listings. But if you can't, please tune in on YouTube. Tune into YouTube, CW30 Wrestling on Saturday. You'll find out on Christmas. I'll give you a big Christmas gift as to what the episode is and what's about to happen. But for now, thank you all for listening. I appreciate it. 13 listeners, thank you so much. New listeners, love you as well. By all means, we're going to sing it one more time. Hey, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your sister, tell your brother. Tell everyone. You've been listening to New Job. Who dis?